Imagine that on horseback, huh? Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I guess a little context is in order. So, my name's Sean Newman. I am a magician currently from Canada, and I'm on tour around the U.S. Now, right now, I'm driving from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. I have 2 weeks before my birthday on April 19th, which is my 33rd, and it's 2019. I don't know what kind of context is going to be necessary for this, but I'm on my way to Vegas, and I have a gig on the 18th. I'm performing with Jeff McBride in his Wonderground event, which is a monthly event. It's like every third Thursday at the Olive Hookah Bar. And anyways, long story short, 2 years ago, I quit my job. I was a chef. I cooked for a living. I wrote menus. I trained kids out of culinary school how to work in a real restaurant, and we opened several restaurants with one group, and then I worked with another group for another couple of years. And I quit my job, and the reason that I quit my job is because I just felt there's just this constant sense of man, that's just so pretty. There's this constant sense of impending pressure, it wasn't. I hesitate to say that it was the stress itself. I believe that what it was the sense that there was no relief in the future from that stress, and that there was it was almost a constant imminence that there was going to be more stress added soon, and I just as a human, I had a lot of difficulty living, just being happy, and so I quit. And when I quit, all I had was a few ventriloquist dummies, and so I this is in Toronto, in Canada, and I hit the streets, and I did ventriloquism on the streets for spare change, and I did that for about 2 weeks, and I almost had enough for rent for the next month, but I had to move out of my apartment, and I didn't have a damage deposit, so I only had enough for rent. And I saw this magician, just across the way, on another part of it was right by the Sky Dome there, and the CN Tower, or whatever. There's this little bridge, and I saw there was a magician on the other side of the bridge, and he did 3 tricks that I knew from when I was a kid. When I was 13, I was a member of the SYM, Society of Young Magicians. I competed in close-up and stage, and I never won anything in stage, but I close-up's my gig, and so I knew, I recognized the tricks, and I had practiced them. I had competed with them. I had created set lists with them in mind, and not that I would do them any better. I mean, he was a fabulous magician. His name's Steve. Big shout out to that fella if ever he hears this. And I saw him, and just the look on his face. He was just so happy doing what he was doing, and I remember doing that when I was a kid, and it just never. The thought literally never crossed my mind. It never dawned on me that I could do that for money. That I could have that much fun. Just it was just a dream. And obviously, there's always a fence and grass, and comparison of color tone. But I just wanted it, and so I packed up everything that I had. I went to the magic shop, and I spent my rent. I spent the rent that I almost had, on magic tricks. And then I went back on the street the next day, and every day since. And I have been a magician full-time since then. It was a really rocky start, I'll be honest with you. I think what really got me through it is how much I actually needed it. I kind of put myself in a corner where I had no choice but to succeed. When I after the first week and a half of being a magician, every day, all day, and I'm talking 8 to 10 hour days, just on the street in the heat, midsummer Toronto, humid, in a suit, doing magic tricks for families and people that are just going to the Sky Dome or whatever downtown Toronto. And about a week and a half after I started doing that every day, I had to move out of this apartment that I was in, and I didn't have anywhere to go, and I still didn't have rent or a damage deposit. I had some money, but it was I had no training wheels. I was just pedal, pedal, crash, pedal, pedal, crash, pedal, pedal, crash, all day through my material, fixing my set list, figuring out what the pattern should be, what tricks should be in my show, what shouldn't, what order should I put them in, you know what I mean? How do I draw in an audience? How do I make the audience pay? How do I, just crashed and burned constantly, every single day, all day. I just crashed and burned. And eventually I wasn't crashing, but before that happened, but a week and a half in, I had to move out of this apartment, and so I stayed at a buddy's house on his couch. I paid him $100 to stay there for a week. And after 2 days, he told me that his landlord noticed that someone else was coming into the apartment, and that wasn't part of the lease, and that he had to kick me out. So I had literally 12 hours notice, and I went to the bar, and I just I needed to get my head straight. So I went to there's this little bar that is called Ruby Tuesdays. It's in Toronto. If ever you're down there, Claire, the bartender owner, is just fabulous. But anyways, I went in there. They got cheap drinks and a pool table and karaoke some nights, and I just walked in, get things off my mind. I sat down and I had a pint. While I was sitting there, I wear a uniform, and I wear it's kind of like a dress suit and a hat, and the hat is the hat. The hat looks all kind of funky and whatever. I'm sure there's other footage you're gonna see the hat, but I wear a nice little show jacket, whatever. Anyways, I have my kit on me, because I carry it absolutely everywhere. I want every single opportunity to show someone a magic trick. If anyone is watching this and they meet me in person ever, please, I would love to do a magic trick for you. It's on me. Just thank you for being interested in magic. It's my favorite thing, and I will do it forever. And so I'm sitting at this bar. Ruby Tuesdays, Toronto, a week and a half into the career. And I had to move out of this guy's place. I had nowhere to go. I was literally about to be homeless the next day if nothing happened. And I sat there, and I halfway through my pint, I started chatting with this kid who's playing pool. His name's Anthony. And Anthony, within a 10-minute span, we're talking, and he asked me oh, you're a magician? Oh my God, I was at Magic Camp, and I learned from Sean Farquhar, and yada yada yada. He's a great kid. He's 20 years old, whatever. He's probably 22 by now, but anyways, great guy. Within 10 minutes, he's asked me, my fucking immediate life story, and he says, well, look, if you have to move out of your place, I've got a shed you can stay in. And it is hard to describe the weight of somebody saying that to you, and it truly being your only option is that someone has offered you to stay in a shed behind their house. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I almost immediately I started crying, and I said, okay, let me get back to you tomorrow. and maybe I'll take a look at the shed. And so I went home to sleep on this guy's couch, and the next day I went out and I worked, and I did my thing on the by the CN Tower there, and the whole day I was like, hey, you know anyone with a place? You know anyone with a place? Hey, you know anyone with a place? Calling all my friends, and no answers, And so I called Anthony, and I went and looked at the shed with all my stuff, just ready to move in to a shed behind a house in the middle of Toronto. And I saw the shed, and it had windows, it had a hardwood floor, it had a little deck, it had I think there was like a sunlight, like a skylight. There was an insulated door, lights, electric outlets. I couldn't believe it. It was like a bedroom detached from the house. There was already a bed in it. There was on a frame and a little dresser, and it was just empty. No spiders, no ants, no fucking cockroaches or anything. It was just a little hangout spot. It was like a tree house without a tree, you know what I mean? It was just like a little sanctuary. And I was so close to the ground, and I was just so grateful. Like a stone, I just kind of skipped a little bit. And sorry, I can't drive if I'm crying. I skipped a little bit, and I picked up, and every day it got a little better. It got a little easier. I made more money. My show was better. The reactions that I was getting were better. And about a month later, I went back to the bar, Ruby Tuesdays, and I think I said long story short at some point here. I guess I'm making the long story long. That's what the King of Hearts said, right? Start at the beginning, work your way through the middle, let's reach the end, then stop. About a month later, I went back to Ruby Tuesdays, and I had a drink, and things were looking up, and I have more money in my hands than I had in the last 6 months, and none of it was called for. None of it was like owed. None of it was due to anyone for any reason. It was just mine in my pocket. And I walked out of the bar, and I was riding around a little tricycle at the time. It had like flowers on the basket, and it was like an adult-sized tricycle, but it carried all my stuff, and I had an umbrella in it, for when I pulled up on the street and stuff. And oh, by the way, if Sam is watching this, thanks for watching the bike and the guitar. I love you. Anyways, so I walk out of the bar, and I go into my into my trike, and I go to unlock it, and these guys, this guy and a girl are getting into a car, and the girl says, "Oh my God, I love your bike." And I was like, "Oh, thank you very much." It was dark. She couldn't see there was a tricycle, whatever. She said, "I love your bike." And I said, "Oh, thank you, miss. I'm a magician. It draws attention," which is my line. Whenever someone compliments something that I'm wearing or something that I'm doing, I say, "I'm a magician. It draws attention." That's the thing. Because then now they know I'm a magician, and now it's more likely that they'll ask me to do a magic trick, whatever. She's like, "Oh my God, you're a magician?" And the guy walks straight up to me, and he says, "You do a trick right now, I'll give you $200. That's Canadian money, mind, but it's still $5 for a loaf of bread. So it's the same. The tokens are the same. And I was like, "Oh my God!" And I had just been working on something new, and I had my set list, but I had this new thing And I decided to do the new thing, and I didn't do the set list. I didn't start with the 2 sponges, invisible cards. Do you know what I mean? I started with this new trick, which I now call it's the world's greatest coin trick. It's a joke about American money, but I call it the world's greatest coin trick. And so if you're curious about what the trick actually is, watch for it. You'll hear me introduce the trick as I go through a show. But I went and did this trick, and it was so fresh. It was like maybe 3 days I've been working on it, and I didn't even have the muscle pass in it yet. It was just like so raw, so fresh, and I messed up the trick, and they laughed in my face and didn't pay me $200. They just drove away, and it, it was it's hard to describe how many times it is absolutely imperative that you crash and you burn and you rebuild. That is your duty to yourself. You crash and you burn. Yes. And you rebuild. Yes. And then you repeat. Yes. Over and over and over again. Until you just can't fail. You're bulletproof. You build this armor around yourself. This whole, it's like your work becomes a part of you, a side of you, like a personality. And I don't mean like a crazy talk. I mean like it's just this constant consciousness, to the material pieces and the work at hand. And how they fit together and what you can do to make those pieces give you the next level, but those pieces that you have in your hands right then,